it's the wrong time of year. Darn it. Hi, everybody. Hello. Before we get started with what our topic will be, I want to tell everybody out there, take a moment, make sure that if you are watching right now, that you please click that subscribe button, click that like button, click that share button, and also please comment during this live. We love to hear from you. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback as you're watching, we are monitoring comments both from YouTube and from Facebook. So please go ahead and join in the conversation. That's all for me. Who wants to introduce the topic? I think Anthony should.
What? One person didn't do his homework as thoroughly as they should have. Today, we are talking about crazy beliefs from Coaching the Person, Not the Problem by Marcia Reynolds.
Marcia Reynolds. Yep.
Marcia Reynolds. I knew the author.
Those of you out there watching, this is pulled directly from this book, Coach the Person, Not the Problem. And it is, I've got it right behind me too. That's awesome. Good
I think we all have it. It's an amazing book.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking of becoming a coach, a seasoned coach, any kind of which way, it's a really wonderful way to look at things and adapt towards.
So we're talking about the 5 crazy beliefs that coaches, new and old, have about coaching and dismantling them. And we're not just going to agree right off the bat with Marcia Reynolds. We'll give our own takes.
Yeah, we're going to have
interpretations of these beliefs.
And that's nice. We got some guidance right now, which is nice as we go through. So this time, usually we dissect words and things like this. We're just going to dive in. We don't think we need to discuss what crazy means. You guys want to talk about what crazy beliefs, what could be?
Insane beliefs.
Woo! Okay, not actually PC word.
Well, are these the crazy beliefs from the coach's standpoint or from people who think about coaching?
I think once we get diving in, it'll bring us some more clarity. But these are mostly beliefs that coaches have. That is likely these are the beliefs that coaches are bringing into their coaching practice, especially new coaches, or any coach really. But this is really from the perspective of the coach. So crazy beliefs that coaches may have is really largely what I think.
So like danger, Will Robinson, danger.
And they're not that crazy. We just talked about that. It's described in the book as the unreasonable beliefs, judgments, and assumptions about coaching. So this is they're unreasonable. I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but let's begin with the first one, shall we? Crazy belief number 1 is it takes a really long time to be really good at coaching. It takes a long time. I added an extra to be really good at coaching, and which already a bit of a controversial. I see quiet faces, right? About over there. Mm-hmm. This is a crazy belief. It's listed as a crazy belief in this book. You guys don't have to agree. How do you feel about that statement?
It's gonna make I actually kind of agree with it, and I'm basing this off of this knowledge in this statement, and that it takes about 10,000 hours of mastery of a skill to become a master, which mastery in my mind means really good. It's another synonym for that. So if we're looking at coaching as a skill set that you possess, maybe not being a coach, but the skill set that we teach you and that you learn through ICF training, 10,000 hours to reach that mastery, in my opinion, which I know very much diverges from what the ICF defines as mastery and professional and associate and things like that. Completely separate scales, but that's kind of my immediate go-to thought is like you need experience and you need a lot of training. And training not in the sense of like, going to school, but, keep training yourself and, self-study to get to that level of really good.
I think if you had done your homework, you would have read that she at 10.
I've not done that.
He does agree. Well, he does agree with the statement, but there's a nuance here that we're missing. Mike, I heard you in this. Yeah.
No, I'll defer to Misha first, because Misha, you were just about to say something, and then I'll.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mike. So I guess I would contend that wow, we keep switching all over the place. Okay, don't get distracted by the visuals. Okay, I would contend that it depends on what you're thinking you're becoming a mastery of, because our clients are the masters of themselves. Our clients are the experts of themselves, and so if we have experience with humans, as I mean, hey, I'm going to just out myself. I'm 54 years old, and I have a lot of experience with humans. I don't know who they are, but I can engage with them. I've had a lot of time observing them and witnessing them. I'm a human myself. Wow, who knew? But I think that if we, in combination with education and practice, that it doesn't have to take a long time to become a really good coach. And then the other question is, how are you defining a really good coach? So back to you, Mike.
Yeah, no, I think where Anthony left off at the end, and Brooke said it too, that word I was going to use is nuance to it. And I think Anthony said it at the end there, with training and with that practice time. And of course, it's still that relative word of what does it mean to be really good, right? A really good coach. Because I think this is one of those things where you can relate it back to gifts. I think some people can start off the first time coaching a little bit further along than someone else, because it's called life coaching, right? So based off of different experiences with life and all the other factors that go around just showing up to the coaching scene, right? I think a lot of that plays into it, and it's all about that training. And so I think it's also a mindset of the coach themselves. Like, what do you choose? Are you choosing to be a good coach where you are open to change and all of that? And so that's why I said false right off, because it could. I think it's just more so of a absolute statement instead of the nuances around it. It could take a long time for some. It could be short for others. So that was just my initial thoughts on it.
I've got a question that might bring into maybe a problem with the term really good coaching. And we're all in the coaching space. We're all knowledgeable about ICF. We got all that context. How would coaches define a really good coach, and how does that differ from how clients might define a really good coach when they don't have the context we do and they're looking for a coach?
And that sort of dovetails beautifully into the point made by the book, is that a lot of times people get wrapped up. They go to see these very experienced coaches. Like they want to see a good coaching demonstration. They go and okay, I'm going to go watch a very experienced coach who's probably also working with a very experienced client. But when what happens is, what gets into the head of coaches is, well, I'm not good enough to start coaching because I haven't X, Y, Z. I haven't completed enough training. I haven't all of these things. But the truth of the matter is, the way that you're going to become really good is by getting the experience. And what do you have to do to get the experience? You have to start coaching. And so the book brings up that you should start coaching day one. Like that's what I mean. Don't get stuck in this thought process of really, I have to have this much of this and this much of this to be this really good at this. But truthfully, you can be doing a lot of good from the very beginning.
Do we remember exponents? Do you guys remember exponents?
You mean like in math?
Like in math? Yeah. So exponents, if we think about 10 exponent 1, that's going to be kind of the basic understanding of coaching, the basic connection to coaching. And I can be really good at an exponent 1, which is there's not really an exponent 1 because it's just 10. But as I develop myself as a coach and that exponent 2, I'm developing my skill set. I can be really good there too. Or conversely, in both areas, I can really suck. So the idea, like Brooke was saying, is get out there, start coaching. That practice is going to allow you to have training wheels on because of the training and the education you provide yourself. As you get more proficient and comfortable with the framework of what coaching is, those training wheels come off. as those training wheels come off, you experiment with different concepts that your client tend to bring up and bring out, and you notice what works and what doesn't work in some of the question format. So when we're thinking about who we are as a coach, thinking about, is it a really long time to be a good coach? It depends on who said that? Anthony, Mike? I think all of us have said what your definition of that coach is. Every level of a coach, as long as you are understanding what this life coaching is, can have a benefit with a client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things that Marcia says. Okay, sorry, I didn't know where I was. I was moving around for a second. She says that everyone can benefit from a thinking partner and that you can serve clients with limited experience. And an opposite definition she gives for mastery, which I absolutely love, Anthony, is mastery has no end.
You're always
Mic
being
drop.
learned.
the pause in itself. Yeah.
Always be
right.
learning. And I think, and that's what the thing is. We a point, and I'm just of course rereading as we go through this. Is that she brings up is she recalls when she started coaching how she could see these huge gaps. She has the knowledge to know that there are these gaps in her coaching education, and in that those gaps, though, while she was very aware of them, especially early on, she was getting all these glowing reviews from her clients and these wonderful testimonials because she's doing good. And so don't be afraid to do the even if you feel like, oh, I haven't done everything that, this amazing coach has, or I haven't, because really, truthfully, you're going to gain the most experience. At least for me, the most knowledge and experience doesn't come from reading, but it comes from actually doing the practice of coaching. Are we ready for crazy belief number 2?
Wait, can I take a poll? Can I take a poll on something? So true or false? All great coaches coached before they were great.
True.
True. Yeah, I had to think about it. Yeah, true, for sure.
I was trying to think, is this a trick question? Because
right.
I'm like,
slow it down and break it down. I don't know if y'all saw the real spinning.
I thought Jen was being tricky too. Yeah, like what is she trying to do here?
No, I just thought of that and I'm like, wait, I think that's true, right? Is it true? Let's find out.
I think there is what one thinks is coaching, and then when we learn what is coaching, that's two different things. The commonality between the two is we care and we're interested.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention, and just because I literally got fresh out of a class just now with some of our students, is that the more we do it, even if it's in just 20-minute stints, we're improving. Just seeing these students from yesterday to today, it was monumental, the difference that they made in their approach and in their willingness and their own coachability. So yeah, I would say back to Marcia's word, it takes practice. Just like anything we do. I speak 3 languages. You think that I did that just because I was born that way? No. So, it's everything we do requires practice.
I think the other thing to consider too is also, I think that as coaches, we should all be willing to be coached too. And I think that's a tremendous tool in learning and in the learning process, is that willingness to be coached as well.
Behind every great coach is another coach.
Yeah.
And behind that coach is Rich Litvin.
I like him. He's a good coach.
Probably.
I like him.
Shut up. We're going to talk about number 2, guys. Numero dos. Number 2, crazy belief. Number 2, questions are needed to create breakthrough or new awareness. I'm not going to give you any more than that. Take
I
it.
wasn't paying attention. I got to read that question. Questions?
Questions are needed to create a breakthrough or new awareness. It is a necessity that we have questions to do that. I see.
I'm
Yeah, go
not
for it.
even sure that like the premise, you should even be considering the premise of a coach should pursue breakthroughs and new awarenesses. That part I'm just like skeptical
more.
of, because
Tell
if the
me more.
coach is just trying to score points and that's the carrot on the stick for the coach, like, I don't know, it just seems very antithetical to coaching, which is you're partnering the client and they are driving the coaching session to whatever goal it is they have in mind. So if they want awareness and breakthroughs, then maybe you'll be coaching that way. But often, at least in my experience, we're not coaching for breakthroughs and awareness. It's very incrementally small things that will eventually lead to whatever desire or outcome they want. So I'm already a bit on this, question.
I will say this: that sort of area is addressed less, and I don't think we should lose that point. That as a coach, we should not be coaching for breakthroughs and new awareness. We should be coaching for whatever the client is bringing to the table, and not getting our ego wrapped up in having to have a breakthrough with our client. But I think a big part of what she's saying in this is that coaching is questions. Might be another way to say the statement.
And I
Did I
disagree.
miss it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more.
Yeah. So it's not, I mean, it's part of, questions are part of, but there's nothing in the whole wide world that we do that is one single element. And so I feel like, yeah, maybe questions are needed, but they're not the only thing that's needed. We need pause. We need breath. We need connection. I think that there's a respect of where the client is and where they want to go, and that gap that they have to jump through or over, around, and grandmother's house we go to be able to get there. But I think the word needed is really limiting.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah,
I
and
would
it-
agree with you on what you're saying. There's just so many nuances of who we are in the process that it's not just the question. And a lot of the times the students get so wrapped up in wanting to ask that perfect question. And really that's not the focal point. So yeah, good point, Misha. Mhm.
Mike?
Oh, go on, Mike.
It just makes me think of like one of the things it may be in the 102 where we have all these statements, right? And it says, something there. And so I'm just hearing all this, and I share it often. I don't like absolutes. And so anytime I see something, right, I'm like, no, it's something in me that just, so questions are needed to create break. Maybe. And so all of you have been saying, I think that's the biggest and most important thing. Questions could be used to help reach or break through new awareness, but it's always something else beyond just what we're looking at. And I think that goes back to that last question too, of like expectation for us as the coach and for the client. And I think if we the client doesn't know the ins and out of what a coach should do and what coaching looks like. But if we do, then we can help with these kind of absolutes and direct statements that help us open up more into that space.
Anthony?
I was going to say, I wonder if it's possible to have a coaching session by only using declarative statements or nothing with a question mark at the end.
Misha brought up some really great points about what happens in that coaching space, but I think one of the big points brought up by the book is that one of the big things that happens in a coaching session that kind of does not get the kind of I guess popularity. It doesn't win the popularity contest. You're not going to hear it. It comes down to these. Students come in and go, I want to know what the best questions are. I need to know the best questions. I need to know the right questions. I need to know. But what is often not thought about is the power of reflective statements. How those moments, those breakthroughs, that new awareness is so often coming from a reflective statement. When we just literally reflect back something our clients say to us. And a lot of times, Jen, I know you can answer this. What do they do when you do that?
They are sometimes stunned hearing their thoughts out loud, hearing their words out loud. They a lot of times have been saying the same thing over and over for so long that they don't know anything different. And then hearing you say it sometimes like just jolts them. And
Did I
that
say that?
alone, right?
Like-
Oh, I did say that. Oh, okay. So what does that mean? I mean, that alone can cause a major shift in awareness.
And I think that I would almost argue, I mean, we'd have to have the statistics that those moments, those breakthroughs, those awareness moments are more often coming from a reflective statement than from a question.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that element alone is just, it's an insanely powerful tool that just doesn't get that kind of show because, you know, we're just, it's something that we're doing, but the right timing, I think just the word always. So when your client says to you always, and you just reflect back always, can boom, aha moments right there, right? And there's
a comment in the chat about that right now too, actually.
and that's the
So-
absolutes, right? Mike, that ties right back in with Mike's point. Those absolutes, right? But that can all be done in a coaching session and all be a reflection. Any other thoughts in that space, in this number 2 space?
When you are focused on asking the right or the best question, you are not fully present. You are somewhere else in your head. And being present is often going to be more valuable for the client than asking the perfect question.
I would totally agree. Yeah. Are you guys ready for numero tres, number 3? I don't know why this is a bilingual show all of a sudden.
Because Misha said she speaks 3 languages, so that's why.
Right. We got to keep up now. Misha
Yeah.
set the bar really high. We got to keep up.
I should have said 5.
Now, again, this is one of those. We notice she's using these absolute words, these declarative statements,
Must.
and I think that's what makes them a little crazy. So we're going to get hooked up on that a bit.
Must
I'm sure
only.
the coach must ask only open, not closed questions. So let's first, for anybody watching who isn't aware of what an open question and what a closed question is, can somebody volunteer to define that? Or for anybody who doesn't
I'll
know?
volunteer.
Yay, Mike.
So open versus closed, right? The quickest way to define that open-ended question allows for more room of what the answer is versus closed. Usually is going to be typically short, one sentence. It's more closed answers, right? So short response. And one of the things there that we share is think about who, what, when, where, how. Typically, is going to be the start of an open-ended question versus do, is, are, have. You put anything behind that is going to be yes, no, but it's more about opening up the options for the person listening, right? For the responder. And so open-ended question, it opens up the opportunity for response. I think that's the easiest and simplest way to explain it.
However, a closed-ended question can be pertinent in the right space. So it's not about
Yes.
never, right? Sometimes I need to know if I'm going right or left. You can't leave me guessing with this whole long. Right?
Right. Exactly.
So, is it on? Is it off? So there are directive things that I need to answer as a client that closed-ended supports. So it's
Also, close and open, even though linguistically speaking, there is like a objective difference from the client perspective, it's very subjective. I've asked intentionally closed-ended questions, and my chattier clients have interpreted them as open-ended questions. So
no problem. Yep.
you might get a client where there's not really a difference. They will expound on any question you ask, regardless if it's open or closed. And the same is inversely true. You can ask a very well thought out, the perfect open-end question, and they'll shut that right down because they don't feel like
This is the reason we don't have to get hung up on knowing the right question.
Mhm.
We still can be strategic and try to think about, but it's all about listening to the client, right? And even probably in the beginning, determining with the client, what kind of questions work best for you, Because I know when I hear a lot of why questions, I'm going to feel judged. Like, why'd you do this? Why didn't you do that? So, I mean, it could certainly be an open-ended. I got a lot of options when I get a why question, but I could feel like, oh boy, what rabbit hole am I going down now and how can I get myself out of trouble?
Why are you asking me why, coach?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean why? And that right there is one of the things I share too in class. You have these things, and I think the beautiful thing about the whole topic tonight is the crazy beliefs, but it's also a lot of what you hear. And I love in the breakdown, when we're looking at that, it talks about where it comes from, right? So it's what you hear, and I love to share that you hear this, though you want to open up, there is space and time for certain close-ended questions or certain things that is not what you would typically understand as being the right thing. And it goes back to what Misha said, what all of us have said so far. It's really about seeing where the client is. And to Anthony's point, you have to get to know your client. That's that coach-client relationship. And I talk about it being a dance. I kind of know what moves don't quite jive with my dance partner. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. And that's the beauty, I think, in coaching, that presence when you connect with your clients. And you might have some clients like, they might ask you, can you narrow that down a little bit more? Okay. This may be a space for a closing. Can I ask you a closing question here?
I really quickly, I want to say hi to Brian, hi to Sue. Thank you guys for watching and thank you for commenting. I apparently was not looking at the chat, so I just wanted to take a moment to say hello to those who are participating in the chat. And they both have some awesome points, and maybe we'll highlight one of them in a second. So she lays out very clearly in this book the 3 effective closed questions are effective in at least these 3 situations. And I think the third one I kind of want to explore a little, and we might want to explore the others as well. So 1, to help clarify what clients want to resolve in the coaching. So just a clarification. Are we right here? Is this what we want to do? Yes or no? Those kind of things. To affirm if a reflective statement is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So we just talked about reflective statements. Can we maybe kind of give an example here? Is this possible? I think that so if I was a client and I was saying that I am not capable of organizing my house how I want it to. It's always
so Brooke, I hear you saying that you're not capable of organizing your house the way you want to. Did I get that right?
Yes. I want to say so many things right there, though.
And there it is. That proves it, though, Brooke. That proves the point we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
When that was an example of how we can. It's other ways too, but what Misha said, right? Did I hear that correctly? Because it's ownership on my part as well. And then you said yes, but it's so many other awesome. That's where, as a coach, we want to give that opportunity. Tell me what else are you thinking? Because you said yes, but I don't know. I sense something. Tell me what's going on in this space. And that's the beauty of it. And that's where that close-ended question could open up, the door to other opportunities and possibilities.
And also, I would say, by reflecting the statement back to me, I can then listen and hear what box I'm putting myself in, right? And that's where that but comes from. Where there's this limiting beliefs, but then I go, wait, is that true? Is that always true? Is that, and then I start to do the work by why can't I remember her name right now?
Byron Katie.
Byron Katie, thank you. Then let's talk about number 3. To prompt clients when it is clear they have had a startling insight, but they aren't speaking. In the last case, the question such as, has something shifted for you, might give them a push to articulate what they now see. Interesting. I almost want to read it again because I see Anthony's face, because I know there's something in me that makes the hair stand up on my neck a bit.
The reason why it seems I'm a bit skeptical of it. It seems like you're fishing for specifically a breakthrough.
Not even that necessarily why for me. I was breaking the silence for me. But to prompt clients when it is clear they have had a startling insight but are not speaking. In the last case, a question such as has something shifted for you might give them a push they need to articulate what they now see. So
What was
it's
the question based on that? Did you have a question? I forgot.
No, there's no question. She just says this.
Oh.
That is when the third time you should use a yes or a close-ended question. And I can see how has something shifted for you could work in there, because it has a I see a shift in energy. Is that correct? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what really bothered me though is, but they aren't speaking.
And what's wrong with that? That's what
Why
bothered
am
me.
I interrupting with silence?
Like I might only ever ask that if I could like visually see the client go, like really like puzzling it out or like giving some heavy nonverbal cues. I might rephrase it a different way, but I don't know. That one.
So that silence kind of is in an important space, but there's a moment when after they have whatever they're doing, contemplating, thinking, emotionally connecting to whatever it is that they're doing in a moment in inward reflection, they're going to look at you. And then that's when you possibly open that question up, share with me what's going on there. But that silence is golden.
Yeah, and I think it can depend though. I really think that, what she's saying is here are some examples of 3 ways where close-ended questions could be helpful. But as a coach, with that practice thing we were talking about, we get to decide whether that's the moment to ask that question. Did something shift? So and then or not break the silence, which is definitely what we have 2 people commenting on. Why not just offer observation? Or is silence a bad thing? No. Sometimes sitting with a client can be really helpful. Yeah, exactly, Mike, or Brian and Sue. Yeah.
The one thing that when we're talking back to the sort of the first point that was brought up that I'm just exploring here, that is a very good point that she brings up, is that goaltending, and using that when we're talking about goaltending. When we say that, that's what we mean is when we are trying to figure out what the purpose of the session is, what the purpose of the overall coaching is. These are really good moments to use those yes or no kind of statements. When we're getting to that, we're just trying to we open them up and then we've got to focus them in. And so to help with that focusing, and that's when those close-ended statements become very, very critical. Do you guys have any other times that you think an open or close-ended or a closed-ended question maybe that we haven't discussed that might be really beneficial to use one? I can think of one, but Jen, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I like the question, is that serving you?
Mm-hmm.
I usually make that an open question by asking, how is that serving you? But there might be times when just a straight, is that serving you? I mean,
yeah,
it works.
One of the questions that I've had in my sessions, somebody will say something and I will ask, do you want to change that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that could also be, yeah. And I think that's in Marcia's book too.
We should move on. I'm keeping an eye on the time. I'm like thinking like maybe
Number
10
4.
minutes for belief.
Number 4.
15 minutes for belief.
Let's talk about number 4, which is great. This pivot's wonderful. We've sort of talked about what reflective statements are. We've talked about using them. Now she says reflective statements are too confrontational. So let's really, before we even go into this, let's talk about why people might find them to be confrontational.
I mean, you are giving, if someone says something as if they might not like to hear their own words reflected back to them because it's so brutally honest. I'm trying to think of specific examples, but Lisa,
I have a great example. I have a great, what you said, Anthony, that hit the nail on the head. I was working with a coach, and the coach shared this at like conclusion, right, of the session, but how much it helped them. like as you were responding, my first visceral reaction was it's almost like you're throwing back in my face what I'm saying, and you're throwing back the not moving forward or what's going on and the problems and the issues. So now as I'm staring in that mirror, I'm looking at a thing that I really want to change, but I haven't got there yet. And it kind of made me feel, a type of way. However, in doing that, I was able to unpack it. And as we begin to flip it to the path forward, now it helped me. If we had not done that on the front end, I wouldn't have been able to get to this point to where I put the puzzle pieces back together accurately, right? So I think let's think about communication. If somebody keeps repeating back what you said, no, did you hear me? Did I hear you? No, so it's one of those reflective. A lot of times it's almost like you're having to stare in the mirror what's going on. And I think that's how sometimes it can be believed or seemingly confrontational.
Can I pop in on this one?
Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
please, Jerome.
I just want to say I think that we're probably conditioned to hold a conversation where it progresses with a response that doesn't mimic yours. Isn't that, when we grow up, that's something that we do as kids? You repeat what somebody says to you and kind of upsets them. It gets under their skin.
You repeat what somebody says to them, and it kind of upsets them and gets under their skin.
Exactly that. So
I know you are, but what am I?
Someone conditioned to kind of expect a response that isn't what we said, ourselves. We're waiting for someone to either agree with us or disagree, but to say exactly verbatim what I just said, it's like, are you challenging me here? And I mean, that to me, just to answer that question, why it may seem too confrontational, I think that's part of the reason why.
I agree. Sometimes
Yeah, I agree too.
really hard for us to face the things we tell ourselves and to just have it like put up, like right there. I think it could also make us feel vulnerable and naked. And maybe it's something that we just said that we didn't even think. We've said so much we don't even think about when we say it. And then we hear it and it's like, oof, ouch. Oh my gosh, I have been lying to myself for this long. And that can feel really, sometimes those breakthrough moments, while being very powerful, can be accompanied by a lot of tears and a lot of strong emotion. And that's a lot of times because it's a lot of times a moment when we're like, I am my own worst enemy. I am getting in my own way. I am the reason I am stuck. And that can be really hard for people to face.
And much harder when you tell me, Brooke, much harder when you tell me that's what you're hearing. It's like, dang, how does she read me? I wasn't ready.
She saw right through it. There's a word though in here that I want to discuss because I
TOO.
TOO, and now exactly that is that word, too confrontational, because I think that word is so critical in this sentence.
I've grown up with that word my whole life. Too sensitive, too emotional, too this, too short.
What two is? How many is too many?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I realized, if we're offering reflective statements and we're really monitoring our presence and our tone, that they don't have to be confrontational. And then when we use the word "to," that just distorts everything as far as I'm concerned.
I will also argue, though, that as coaches, we are allowed to be confrontational on occasion.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Anthony likes that.
100%.
No, I was going to
100%.
too confrontational might be when you're becoming argumentative or hostile.
I like challenge better than confrontational.
Yeah,
to be
but
fair.
to challenge or
Yeah,
to
the
confront
wording.
someone, like you are putting yourself or situation in front of the client where it's unavoidable, whatever it is you're bringing to the table. So one example was I was coaching a client a while back, and we kept on coming. We stayed on session. We kept coming up with goals, and she would have things to do for the week, and then by next week wouldn't do them. And this would kind of repeat herself. And so the confrontation of the challenge that I brought was, hey, I'm observing you keep saying these things and you keep doing other things. is there something that's going on that's causing this to happen? And then that confrontation led her to break the cycle and delve deeper into what it is that's happening when she says one thing but does another thing.
And I
Well,
think that,
oh, sorry, Brooke, go ahead.
oh yeah, no.
I was just going to say, I mean, I kind of introduced that with my clients, like, would this be an okay time for me to push back a little bit?
Mhm.
May I push back a minute? Just ask permission. May I push back? Okay. My clients know, though, that they're coming to me for that. They want that deep dive. So it just depends on what you label as your, what you're doing with your clients too.
And that's one of those things where that's when that you see those coaches that are putting out there like, I don't want to work with weak clients. I don't want to work with we're gonna do work. You're gonna come in and you're gonna expect. They get all very soapboxy, but why do they do that? Because they want the clients to know that you're coming when you're coming in. This isn't. I'm not here to be a people pleaser or a yes person. I am here to facilitate growth. And growth is painful and difficult.
And radically beautiful.
It is, absolutely. So, but the reality is there are times where we have to be willing to make our clients uncomfortable.
Mhm.
A little bit. I mean, we don't want to, and it's always done in a safe space, right? They're uncomfortable in a safe space, and that's really, I think, important.
Right. And it goes back to what Lisa said, right? When we all said, like, yeah, to be confrontational, intent is everything. So even thinking about how you present something, right? When Lisa said challenging, because that, like I talk about in a session, right? The difference between me interrupting a client and doing a gentle check-in, it changes the way I deliver it. Is it the same thing? Perhaps. But I think right there, the challenge, sometimes I want to challenge. And so I think that changes it too. Intent is everything.
Yep.
All right. We are going to move on to number 5 because now Anthony has me looking at the clock. So let's pull it up. I just got to switch gears. Okay. So coaching must always, again, in one of those,
Always
have a clear outcome or vision of a desired future. This is a little controversial here. It's interesting. I mean, if we take the word always out. Oh, you like how it's a dollar sign? That's my
I
favorite.
did. I was just looking at it. The $5 question.
Fine.
I just was looking. I'm like, oh, $5 question.
This is a bonus. This is
The
a
other
bonus
ones
question.
are only
right
$1.
here.
I think maybe if you're going for your ACC, this might be like a factually true statement, because it's maybe what the people are trying to critique and observe. I don't know. Can you?
Yeah, I'm going to say no. They want to know that you, the coach, have, what those questions that we have set up in our classes to ask.
Mhm.
What are you going to, the session contract? What, by the end of our session, what do you want to achieve? They want us checking in and connecting to that. But does it have to have the desire, that outcome? No, they don't look for that.
Okay. But there does need to be a clear sort of contract that should lead to an outcome. Whether you reach that outcome or desired future or not, that's maybe beside the point. But that should be there. That's the only time I can think of that's like really clear. Otherwise, most coaching sessions, a lot of them, I'm not going to say most, a lot of them don't have that clear outcome or vision of a desired future. Sometimes it's a lot of exploration so that they can figure out what the clear outcome is.
Steps towards it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Many times clients will say, oh, I want to get all of this. I want to have 5 things to accomplish by the end of the session, and and they come up with one. And they realize that one piece is integral part to everything that they're moving towards anyway. So it's a process. As I keep saying that, it's a process with them discovering really not what the perfect answer is, what they should answer, but really what their truth is and what their authentic commitment is to themselves.
I think that what I really want to bring up in this space is what is the name of the book this is pulled from?
I'm looking it up.
It's
Really
the person, not the problem.
Not the problem.
And I think that right there is what this number 5 is about. Truly, is that when our clients are coming in, they might be unsure. They might just want to talk something through to gain clarity. They might just want a sounding board or a place that they can explore, and that doesn't fall into a clear outcome or a vision of a desired future, right? That right there is us coaching a problem. That is us saying, okay, what tangible do you want to achieve? And it might be that they just need some clarity. They're feeling stuck. They're in this space. And then as you start to, okay, so what does clarity look like? It looks like a discussion, and then boom, okay, let's do that. Let's have that discussion. And from that can come some really powerful stuff that might eventually lead to a clear outcome and a vision and a desired future and steps towards it. But sometimes it can be as simple as I need a space to talk.
Well, and a clear outcome might just be, I'm not ready to do that. I'm not ready to take that step. I thought I was ready to take that step, but I'm actually not ready to take that step. Okay. Yeah.
And as the coach too, Misha, as the coach, right? If we're stuck on the problem, right, or getting them to that vision, desired outcome, we can lose track of where they really are. And again, the title of the book, right? We lose track of where they really are. And now we've lost them. So guess what? I have to work that much harder to regain that connection, that focus, that trust, rapport, all of that. And so I think that's the important thing. It really is. And there it is, that absolute word we just drop in there. Always. It could, sure. But not always. Sometimes it's just going to be that. I mentioned that gentle check-in. When you do that check-in, you're looking at timing and you're trying to keep up. They may say, you know what, Coach, I've never had a chance for someone to just hear me out for 10 minutes, let alone this time we're spending in this session. And this is really helping. Like, it's almost like a weight is being lifted off of me. Now I can possibly see what's that future vision I have for myself, because I'm removing this big wall that was just right here that I haven't had a chance to process to this point.
Right.
So I feel like we've covered a lot. We have a little bit of time left. So I'm going to say, I think that I'm okay. Is everybody okay with pausing here so we can answer a question for Jennifer Snyder?
Yeah. Hey, Jennifer.
Jennifer Snyder has an off-topic question. Since you brought up time, smiley face, how do I keep track of time without looking at my phone? If I don't, sometimes the session goes over time. Any ideas? So one question, Jennifer, is this in person or is this virtual? I think it's we can discuss both.
I don't know if it matters either way. I've got a quick solution. Put your phone on vibrate, put a timer on, and stick it in your pocket. That way, at the 50-minute mark, 55-minute mark, 30-minute mark.
I don't have pockets.
Then get some pockets.
I wouldn't put my phone in my pocket.
Lisa's being difficult. Just put it under your butt.
So some options.
Yeah, some people put a big clock right across from wherever their seat is.
I have one everywhere I can look.
Yeah.
I've also had.
Jennifer said in person. So I'm sorry, Misha. Jennifer said in person. So a couple of other things too. Options. In person, I'm going to position, as we've already shared, a clock maybe just behind the view of the client. So now, even if I think of that next question, I see the clock. However, another option for you, if you wanted to, you can see there's like literal hourglasses that you can maybe use. And as you get used to that timing, at least you know now when I'm at a certain point, I carry that with me, and you share it with the client to keep track. I have my hourglass here, and I say, oh, awesome. That's nice. So there are some options that you can use if you are, if you have notes or anything like that. Before I came with these options, I would just kind of look down, and what you all can't see right now as I'm thinking of the next question to ask you, I just looked at my watch. So finding little things.
Count
Well,
your-
books, they have like foldable notebooks that come with a little clock at the top, like that come with a tiny digital clock at the top. That like, so if you're there and you're taking your notes, and there's a little digital clock right at the top that makes it really, you just gotta, oh, I'm taking a note. But also I think that it doesn't hurt. It's okay. I'm gonna give you permission to look at a clock. The phone, I can see how that, but you're allowed to look at your clock. I think that's okay for us to do. What are
Tap
you?
your feet
Well, I
at
was just going
6
to say, one of
feet.
the things that I do with my clients, especially if we're meeting in person and we're not actually in an office, but maybe we're meeting out in public, I will say, you know what, your time is valuable, my time is valuable. I'm going to keep my phone here with the timer, and I'm going to set it so that we know we have 5 minutes to wrap up, so we don't get carried away and you don't get cut off, because I want to make sure you have the time you need and deserve before I go to my next client. So just being real transparent, like I need to have my timer here to honor both of us. And I think that's helped me a lot, just being very transparent. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. The other thing that people do, I don't, because I can't pay attention. They'll have like subtle music playing in the background, nothing major, just real quiet music. And at the end, let's say that 5 minute, if we went with 5 minutes, the same song comes on every ending at 5 minutes. Not only do you get a notification, the clients get accustomed to knowing that 5 minute, they have 5 minutes left without you having to say anything. It's just that built in.
On a game show.
Yeah. I tried. I tried this. It didn't work for me. Again. I'm like, well, what time is it? Became too much for me. But others, you just got to find your comfort zone on what works for you in that space of knowing yourself. That's part of your learning curve.
You're welcome, Jennifer. Yay.
So I got a question now where we can sort of give our own sort of feedback. We talked about Marcia's 5 crazy beliefs that coaches have. What are some beliefs that you guys have observed that coaches have that are a bit crazy or odd or false?
I have one. The concept of the right question. I think that those are crazy. It's a crazy thought process, because I don't believe there is just one right question. And I don't believe that us, only I am going to have some knowledge that will make me know the right question that nobody else will know. And I just don't buy it. I think that there are a host of questions that could be the right question. So getting hung up on, I asked the wrong question, I asked the right question, or I said the wrong and right in that space, for me, it just does not work. And I think
it's a lot easier also to think of wrong questions to ask than right questions to ask.
I have one.
Yeah.
So I think some of the things that I've heard people say is I shouldn't charge for my coaching because I'm new, or I should only charge this amount because I'm new. And I don't agree with that either. Like, we have tons of experience. Most of us have tons of experience in life before we become coaches. And so I feel like that's not nice to not charge for your services. And I think it's a myth. I think it's absolutely a myth that we should start charging right away, and that we are only doing other coaches justice by charging right away. The whole profession, we should be charging for our services.
I have another one too that I just thought of, and that's my life is not perfect. My life is a mess. I have problems. I can't be a life coach.
So I can't be a coach. Yep.
No, you're right. You can't be your own coach. Go get a good coach. People.
Right. Yeah, I think it bridges, and it bridges beautifully, right? Brooke, with what Misha was sharing, like, that's the thing. It's called life, and we all have human experience that is so different and unique. And so to think that you're perfect, I mean, come on. Now we know some car mechanics with the beat up car, some hairstyles that may not be done. So when we get in these helping professions, right, we think, you're a life coach. I had this conversation with someone earlier today. You know, you're a life coach. You have it all together, and you have all this life experience, and you have to. be a
That's
certain way.
right.
No. Right? So that's the thing. It's like that's the beauty in it. You know, it's all about what we've been talking about all this whole life. Is the training, the experience, and the growth, and connecting with the client.
Yeah. Just to pair off of what everyone has said so far in this regard, young people who even come to the coaching, they go, what am I going to give? How can I coach anybody? You know, I've just been born, essentially. You know, we have some 19-year-olds and 20-somethings that come in and are feeling a little inadequate. And by no means, they have a fluid of information, a fluid of experience and wisdom that they've gone through to be whatever age they are. So they will meet their clients, whoever that happens to be, where they're at. There was this one,
But we're not giving answers, right?
Yeah. No.
We're not telling anybody what to do.
Well, the young people, I mean, the young people are important in this business, you know, and we've heard the expression from the mouth of babes.
Mm-hmm.
The mouths of babes, right? I mean, there are old souls out there who are 22 years old. Everybody's valuable in this career.
Yeah.
Any other beliefs?
I've got one, but it's maybe something no one else thinks but me. So I've had several times where I've thought to myself, I could have coached better. You know, as a new coach, I could have coached better. And I realize I don't think that's true. I think you coach the best you can in every moment you're in. And if you want to coach better, you just keep coaching.
Yes.
I don't think I could have done better. I think you're the best you are in your moment.
Jen, I'm gonna make you feel bad. I do think objectively.
I don't think Jen expects anything less.
No, Anthony. No.
I'm gonna say it.
No,
I'm gonna say
Anthony.
it. But I'm gonna make it sound nice at the end, so don't worry. But whatever.
No,
Just ask permission.
intention and impact are two different things.
It's not limited to coaching. It can be for any skill that you do or any pursuit that you have. Of course, you could have always done better, but you didn't, and you did the thing that you did. So what are you going to do with that information? You can either choose to grow from it or accept it, or you can do something else that's not really going to serve you, like beat yourself up and never coach again. It's factually true, but it's not doing anything for you.
It isn't factually true. Like this is going to send us down a philosophical wormhole, but essentially, like, I have a theory that everybody's doing the best they can in their lives at any time. And sometimes, from our perspective, somebody else's best looks pretty shitty. But they're in a situation where there's a world of things going on that maybe we aren't aware of, and they're doing the best they can. Like, I don't think anybody wakes up today and goes, I'm going to do the worst. That is my plan. I think that we all, as human beings, and maybe this is just me being an optimist and thinking the best of people, get up and try to do our best.
The smile on Anthony's face right now is saying, yes, you are being very optimistic.
But I think I said the exact same thing that Anthony said, just in a different language. What I'm saying is that if I want to be better, that I have the ability to be better. But I didn't have that ability in that coaching session I just had. I did my best in that session. I recognize that. If I want to be better, I have access to that. I just keep coaching. I keep reading. I keep learning. I keep growing. I keep working with my coach.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, and I'm trying to think who said it. I don't recollect who said it. It's when you know better, you do better. So in that moment, you have grace. And if you reflect back and recognize there's places where you could have improved, I don't like that word done better, just improved, right? Because it could have been done just fine. But that possibility of improvement, then you improve. That's part of the growth and the learning, and why you want to keep going with this learning process of, I'm getting distracted by the chat. I gotta close. I forgot what I was gonna say now. Y'all got me all confused.
No, Lisa, you were right in the middle of that mic drop moment, right? It's about you can always want to improve, right? And that's I think with anyone, because Brooke, I kind of believe that there are some people out there that just wakes up and say, I had a bad day yesterday. Let me see who else's day I can ruin. But if you are, and that goes back to what I said.
But they're
about
good at
intention,
it.
right?
But they're good at
There
it.
that's true.
That's
But
what I
intention, right, is everything. And so if you have the intent of helping and being the best you, then back to what Anthony said, which I love the way you summed that up, Anthony. It's like, what do you do with the information? If you have that thought or that question that pops up and you say, you know what, I could have done better. Have a conversation with that thought. Sit with it and say, okay, how do I process this information? Let me sit down, have this self session. What could I have done better? Okay, next time, this is how I will improve, right? You know, and not be so hard. Extend yourself grace and do better. Improve.
All right, guys. We are well past our time. What an awesome topic, and what an awesome group of people. Quickly, I want to introduce Misha. For those of you who don't know, Misha is our newest fit. She's here and new to the team. We're happy to have her on board. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to do this as quick as humanly possible. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and you watch it, please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share this with somebody who could benefit from it. Share this with somebody you know who might like it. And also make sure you check out the Certified Life Coach Institute. We certify life coaches in 3 days. We're award winning. We're accredited. We're awesome. So check us out.
We're amazing.
Yeah.